These Disney World secrets blow my mind. Disney's pretty well known for their attention to detail, but the wildest and most impressive secrets they keep from their guests is how they distract you for noticing some details. Today, we're talking about the Disney World secrets that blow my mind.
You might be thinking when it comes to Magic Kingdom, the fastest thing in Magic Kingdom is going to be an attraction like Tron or even the Barnstormer, and you would be dead wrong. The fastest thing moving through Magic Kingdom is actually the trash. Beneath the parks lies something called the Automated Vacuum Assisted Collection System, or AVAX for short. And this is actually what the trash goes through, and it moves up to 60 miles per hour. Not even joking. That trash is flying 60 miles. There are different tubes connected underneath Magic Kingdom where all of the trash goes, and they are all kind of interconnected, and they end up going to a central trash compactor that is actually located behind Tiana's Bayou Adventure. A little fun fact for you there. The custodial staff does still collect trash throughout the parks. You've probably seen them with their massive black trash cans that they're pushing through. But they can deposit that trash at several different drop-off points throughout the park. So it's not every single trash can just has a tube below it. That's not how that works, even though that would be really cool. But there are several of these connecting trash cans that have those tubes that literally send the trash bags off at 60 miles an hour. Believe it or not, Disney World is actually only one of 2 places in the United States to have this system. Roosevelt Island in New York City is actually the other one. I have been in the utilidors. You actually, almost every single cast member should be able to go on a tour of them. And I have heard this system with my own ears, and it is actually scary. The entire group, when we were taking our tour, jumped because it's flying so fast. You can just hear it zooming. It is a crazy experience, and it's so neat to know that that's kind of how they help keep the parks clean a lot more easily than maybe other parks. That park, I should say.
At first glance, Cinderella's castle looks like a towering structure made of brick and stone, but there's actually no bricks used at all. Instead, it's made of concrete, steel, cement, plaster, and plastic shingles. And when it was built, it was actually the largest fiberglass structure in the world.
Now, I'm gonna say this. I might honestly disagree with this secret because did you know there are no bad pictures of the castle? As someone who has taken several bad photos herself at the castle, this one was kind of hard to believe, but once I explain it, it makes a lot of sense and there is a lot of truth in it. So if you did not know, taking a picture in front of Cinderella Castle is a staple in your Disney trip. If you're there, you have to do it at least once in your life. It's iconic. Truly, the word iconic is overused. The Cinderella Castle is genuinely and truly iconic. So everybody's taking photos with it, and Disney actually planned for this so that way no bad photos can be taken in front of the castle. To help make sure that every single shot is super gorgeous and magical, the castle was actually built strategically facing the south, so that way the sun is never going to be kind of behind it, making it backlit. You know what I mean? It's always gonna have like a nice, gorgeous shine on the front of it, even early in the morning, which I have also experienced. On top of that, the castle is also positioned so that way there are no shadows that are hitting it. There's no taller buildings around it, there's no tall trees around it, so that way there's no shadows hitting the castle really at any point throughout the day. That being said, you can take a bad photo, eyes squinting, it's overexposed, whatever, but the castle itself is always gonna look gorgeous in the photos.
Now, Epic Universe isn't the only theme park that you can sleep inside of. You can sleep inside of Magic Kingdom too. Hidden inside Cinderella's castle is the ultra-exclusive Cinderella Castle Suite, a lavish, fairy tale themed room fit for royalty. Originally designed as a private space for Walt Disney himself, the suite now serves as a once-in-a-lifetime experience for a very lucky few. You can't book it, it's usually reserved for special guests, contest winners, or VIP promotions. With its ornate decor, custom stained glass windows, and a magical view of the park, spending a night here is like stepping into a storybook.
I would argue that there is no theme park more committed to the bit than Disney World. One thing Disney loves is that historical accuracy, theming, and story. They love to tell a story. And I think we can all agree that you see it constantly. One place you're really gonna see that commitment is Liberty Square. Liberty Square in Magic Kingdom does take place during colonial times. That's the storyline that it is set in, and Disney is so committed to making sure that their stories are accurate that indoor plumbing had not yet been invented. And so you cannot easily, find a restroom in Liberty Square. A lot of people say there are none. Technically, there are two. One is in Columbia Harbor House and one is in Liberty Tree Tavern. But other than that, you can't just wander into a restroom in Liberty Square the same way that you can do in all of the other lands within the park. You also are going to find what is famously known as the Poop River. I don't even like saying it out loud. There is a squiggly brown road that kind of takes place throughout Liberty Square, and you can see it in the pavement, and a lot of people believe that this is a reference to the sewage that would often be found floating down the streets during colonial times.
Hidden on Cinderella's castle is a very special detail, the Disney family crest. It's located above the archway as you walk through the castle toward Fantasyland. The crest features a lion holding a fleur-de-lis, and it's an authentic nod to Walt Disney's actual family heritage. It's easy to miss since most people are rushing through the tunnel, but once you spot it, you'll realize you're walking right under a piece of Disney family history.
Disney really blows my mind. Every time we talk about these secrets, I feel like I know most of these, and one will always surprise me. This is one that I knew already, but still surprises me to this day, and it blows my mind. Once a year, it blows my mind because there is a hidden Mickey that you can only find once a year. Now, traditionally, hidden Mickeys, if you don't know, it's little hidden Mickey Mouses. I know, it's kind of in the name, that are scattered throughout the parks. You can find them even on the cruise ships. They're everywhere. Typically, they're just the three silhouette circles, that kind of Mickey. Sometimes they're like a full out drawing of a Mickey. There's a Steamboat Willie hiding at the exit for the Little Mermaid in Magic Kingdom, Under the Sea with the Little Mermaid. There's also a hidden Mickey in Magic Kingdom, speaking of the Little Mermaid, that you can only see literally once a year. I'm not joking, it is absolutely crazy. If you really want to see it, you need to stop by the Magic Kingdom on Mickey's birthday. Mickey and Minnie's birthday. It's November 18th, and once a year in the queue for Under the Sea, The Journey of the Little Mermaid, there is, I know how it works, but it has to happen once a year at a very specific time. The sunlight is going to shine down through the queue on this specific day. The sun hits at just the perfect angle, and for a few minutes you can see an illuminated Mickey Mouse that is kind of created through the lights that are shining through the different bottles in the queue. If you're ever in Magic Kingdom on November 18th, now you know where to be. It's kind of interesting. Our team does go each year to catch it just because that's so cool and so rare. And every year you can always kind of tell who's there for what reason, and everybody just kind of like huddles around this one little corner, and you just have to tell everybody, keep passing you while you wait to see it. It's really, really cool and super rare, and I've never seen it in person. I've only seen photos and videos of it.
Walking down Main Street is impossible to not notice all of the US flags. But did you know that almost all of them aren't real? They're all missing a stripe or a star, which means technically they don't have to follow US flag code, which means no raising and lowering them every day, no special lighting at night, and no folding ceremonies. But there is one real American flag in Magic Kingdom sitting proudly at the center of Town Square. And every single day, Disney holds a flag retreat ceremony there to honor veterans. If you have never seen this, please do it on your next Magic Kingdom day. I do tear up every time. It is very sweet. It doesn't last very long, but if you're around Magic Kingdom at about 5-ish p.m. over by Main Street, you should check it out. It's sweet.
If you have ever been to be our guest in Fantasyland, you may have seen this or you may not have. If you look up while you're dining in the Beast's gorgeous castle, you're gonna see a lot of little baby cherubs kind of floating above you. And that's really cool, but you know what's really cool about it? What's even cooler about these baby cherubs? They're all real people. They're all real. And that's not to say that there are real people in the ceiling, but every single baby cherub that is painted into the ceiling is based off of a real person. Each of these cherubs is actually designed to resemble one of the Disney Imagineer's children, or even a Disney Imagineer as a baby. So it's like all of their families kind of coming together in a collective artwork inside Be Our Guest. Every time you eat in the ballroom, it's fun to just kind of look up and see the different families that might be floating above you that helped design the restaurant, or that were family members of people who designed the restaurant. It's fun, it's cute, and I personally wish I was a baby cherub that lived in Be Our Guest restaurant. I think that's kind of a legacy that I crave.
As you run around Magic Kingdom enjoying your favorite rides and snacks, you probably don't realize there's an entire floor underneath you. That's right, the park you're walking through is actually the second floor. Beneath your feet is a network of service tunnels called the utilidors. These tunnels house equipment, storage areas, and are how cast members move around the park without being seen, preventing someone from spotting a Tomorrowland cast member strolling down Main Street USA, which we all know would ruin the magic. The utilidors aren't really tunnels though. Due to Florida's flat, sandy ground, it can flood easily, so Disney didn't dig down. Instead, they built the utilidors on top of the ground, and the park slopes upward as you walk toward the Main Street train station. Essentially, you're walking from the ground floor up to the second floor without even noticing it.
Believe it or not, one of Magic Kingdom's most famous attractions almost was not an attraction in the Magic Kingdom. Truly. Pirates of the Caribbean did not open in Magic Kingdom until 1973, almost 3 years after the park originally opened in 1971. Why the delay? What happened? Come on, Disney. Why wait that long? Well, they didn't want it initially. They didn't really originally want it in Magic Kingdom. The reasoning was that Florida was so close to the Caribbean. Imagineers thought that the guests really wouldn't be interested in this Pirates attraction. It was kind of something they probably could kind of do or be aware of, or like experience the real thing. So they just didn't think they would care to do the fake Pirates of the Caribbean. Instead, they actually had planned an enormous attraction that they were gonna call the Western River Expedition. It would have kind of been a mix of Big Thunder Mountain, Tiana's Bayou Adventure, and Pirates of the Caribbean. So all three of those rides kind of squished together. However, all that to be said, when guests finally did make it over to Disney World, they were shocked. They were like, where's the Pirates ride? They couldn't find it. Everyone was really disappointed, and it kind of forced Disney to bring the ride over from Disneyland and make a new version of it. This also meant that they scrapped the Western River Expedition. Sorry for that. But the work on the attraction had already begun, so some of the props and the animals that were originally built for it were actually moved over to Living with the Land. A great example of that is the bison. Those little bison in Living with the Land were supposed to be in Magic Kingdom.
Next up, Animal Kingdom.
So if you didn't know, when Expedition Everest first opened, it was Animal Kingdom's most advanced animatronic ever, specifically that crazy Yeti if you've been on the attraction. And along with that, it was also the most expensive, costing them around $100 million, with an M, $million for that Yeti. There was one real problem though. It was actually so advanced that it started to damage the base and the foundation of the actual attraction. Disney obviously was not gonna scrap something that was $100 million, so they actually had to turn it into what is known as B mode. So previously it would do like a huge massive swing. It was really like detailed and really got into the ride and got super close to you. And now it's in a B mode where it kind of does like and has strobe lights on it to make it look like it's moving more than it actually was. That's where the name Disco Yeti comes from, because it's really just more like strobing, flash, you know, like a disco, than an actual animatronic movement. Supposedly, they would actually have to take the ride apart to fix the Yeti, and that's obviously not something Disney has done or has plans to do as far as we know.
Now, Disney has fake birds, fake people, and even animals, but did you know Disney World has a fake waterfall? Over in Pandora, the world of Avatar, you'll find jaw-dropping floating mountains, lush trees, and some seriously gorgeous waterfalls. But here's the secret. Not all of them are real. Up near the top of the mountain area by Avatar Flight of Passage, one of those waterfalls isn't water. Instead, Disney Imagineers created a clever illusion. It's actually a rotating wheel of mesh fabric that gives the appearance of water flowing. At the bottom, white mesh is used to look like mist. So the next time you're walking through Pandora, keep an eye out. Some of that flowing water might not be water at all.
Another really cool secret is Animal Kingdom was actually supposed to have dragons, like real dragons. And if you're a fantasy girly like me, or just love any fantasy in general, this would have been so cool. So if you didn't know, there was actually supposed to be an entirely different land called Beastly Kingdom that would have featured a lot of those mythical creatures like dragons, unicorns, and etc. that we love when it comes to fantasy. That's actually, if you didn't know, why the park's logo actually still features dinosaurs on it. You can find little nods to them still in the park today on the park benches. There's even a little, it's like a stone dragon that you can see if you're heading into Pandora. It didn't end up panning out, so no dragons for us, unfortunately, but the nods are still there if you look close enough.
When Animal Kingdom first opened, there was very little signage because Disney wanted guests to explore like real adventurers, even if that meant getting lost. However, guests were not pleased with the lack of guidance, so additional signs were quickly added. Listen, coming from a former cast member herself, people need signage. People need the words right in front of their face. But that's a different topic. Now, Hollywood Studios.
This one is actually so cool, and I remember when I found this out years ago, it like actually blew my mind. So Hollywood Studios gets a lot of flack for feeling like the lands are disjointed and there's actually not a lot of interconnected storyline between them like you might find in the other parks. That being said, that's kind of changing with all of the updates going on, but one storyline you might not know about is that the Tower of Terror and Rock and Roller Coaster are actually connected in their official story from Disney. Stick with me, it's actually really, really cool. So according to Disney's official backstory, G-Force Records was actually found during the golden age of Hollywood, which is kind of when Tower of Terror takes place. On October 31st, 1939, executives from G-Force Records actually attended a Halloween reception at the Hollywood Tower Hotel, which we now know as the Tower of Terror. That night, a lightning strike mysteriously sent 5 hotel guests into another dimension, creating that haunted legend within the tower that we all know and love. You know, the kind of famous part. The hotel's closure actually after the incident dealt a serious blow to G-Force Records, kind of forever associating the label with the tragedy of the Hollywood Tower Hotel. Fast forward to the 1990s and G-Force Records actually mysteriously re-emerged as a state-of-the-art rock label, where you can find currently Aerosmith, which is gonna be the Muppets. This kind of coincided with the Hollywood Tower Hotel's reopening as well, which was kind of neat. One of the label's biggest acts is Aerosmith, which we just mentioned, and that's where the rock and roller story of it all kind of comes in, and you're trying to get to their last minute show. You're getting those VIP tickets, so even though it might feel disconnected, technically those storylines are interconnected. Is that a little bit of a stretch? Maybe. Do I think it's cool that they're interconnected? I do.
Before it became a full-fledged theme park, Disney's Hollywood Studios was actually a working film and television studio. Guests could watch real productions happening on set, from movies to TV shows and commercials. This is why the park was originally called Disney MGM Studios, because the idea was part theme park, part real studio experience. Many of the backstage areas, sound stages, and even the famous streets of America were designed so guests could walk through and see the magic of production happening in real time. That's why it was always my favorite park, and I understand it's very cool to walk through Toy Story Land and walk through Galaxy's Edge, but I miss it. I miss it.
The next secret is called bagging a fish. And I wanna know if I'm giving you like 2 seconds to try to guess what this is about. And if you haven't guessed yet, we're just gonna dive into it. So during the Fantasmic finale, I don't know if you've ever seen it. If you haven't, it ends with a bunch of characters all on a massive float driven by Steamboat Willie, just like kind of coming out through the front. They're all like waving these flags, the music's going crazy, and it is so, so exciting. So towards the end, right as they're kind of turning the corner, you can't really see all the lights, they all rush inside the float because the fireworks are about to start at the end of the show before Mickey is up on the mountain. Everyone gets to go inside except for Ariel. Ariel doesn't have legs. She can't run off inside the boat. She's in her mermaid form. While she's on the boat, she really literally cannot run inside. So how do they solve this? How do they keep Ariel safe? They bag the fish. That's actually something that they're doing. Prince Eric can't carry her off. I guess they're in too much of a hurry. So they literally have a flame retardant blanket that they throw over her. She just kind of has to duck down while everyone else runs in the boat. Prince Eric wraps her up real good, and it protects her from the fireworks in case there's any like debris or fallout from the fireworks that are going off. Cast members call this bagging the fish, and I think that's hilarious. That is so funny, and I just love the idea of them calling it bagging the fish, and I think it's sweet that Eric takes good care of Ariel and tosses a flame retardant blanket on top of her.
Now, flying the Millennium Falcon is already an unforgettable experience, especially when you're not trying to crash it entirely. But here's a hidden secret. In Chewie mode, instead of hearing Hondo Ohnaka guiding you, you hear the yells and roars of Chewbacca. Yes, Chewie literally takes over the ride's audio, adding even more chaos to your intergalactic mission. And no, I'm not going to do an impression.
Our next secret is that Disney is really known for their unique rides and their attractions, and there are very few copies of those attractions out in the world that are not Disney specific, except for one. Rock and Roller Coaster actually has a twin, if you didn't know. There is a ride that is nearly identical. It's in the Netherlands, and it's actually called Express Platform 13 at Walibi, Holland. They were actually both built by the same company, and they both go from 0 to 57 miles per hour in under 3 seconds. It has the same twist, the same corkscrews, the same inversions. It's pretty much an identical copy. The biggest difference is that Rock and Roller Coaster is indoors, whereas the other version is outside, which, I don't know, I think part of the thrill of Rock and Roller Coaster is that it's so dark, so I think that'd be a lot of fun to test it outside. If you ever want to ride Rock and Roller Coaster without the theming or the music or whatever, or maybe try it outdoors, you can do that. It's just in the Netherlands. Now, the park-specific ones are a lot of fun, but we're also going to break it up for a moment and talk about the more general Disney World secrets.
Now, Disney is the master of creating magic, but sometimes the tricks aren't in what you see, but in what you don't see. Let's start with Go Away Green. This is a special shade of dull green paint Disney uses on buildings, construction walls, or anything they don't want you to notice. It blends so well into the background that your eyes just naturally skip right over it. Then there's Bye Bye Blue. This is a pale sky blue color Disney uses to make things practically disappear. Want to hide tall buildings, show buildings, or even big ride structures? Paint them Bye Bye Blue, and they'll just blend right into the sky. A great example is at Epcot. If you are standing at the World Showcase looking at the Morocco Pavilion, you might catch a glimpse of the Tower of Terror from Hollywood Studios. But Disney designed the top of the Tower of Terror to look like Moroccan architecture, so it actually blends in perfectly with the pavilion.
Did you know that Disney reuses animatronics? This is a secret that's not so secret, but it is true. Disney animatronics are often the star of the show. If you think about the biggest rides, the most fun shows that you're watching, those animatronics are the ones that you're keeping your eyes on. Did you know, though, that a lot of them actually get reused? A lot of these animatronics actually are not brand new in the shows or rides that you're on, and Disney actually a lot of times will reuse, reduce, and recycle by bringing these characters into new or updated attractions. The Hall of Presidents is actually a very specific example that we're going to talk about. When the presidential figures aren't doing their famous speeches or standing and kind of waving at you from the stage during this show in Magic Kingdom, you might actually find them over on Spaceship Earth doing many different jobs that aren't being president. Some of them are Roman senators, some of them are Egyptian priests, Renaissance era painters. There's a lot of different jobs that these presidents take on. I didn't even know that. I mean, that's a serious career change, in my opinion, but impressive nonetheless. You also can look over to Seven Dwarfs Mine Train in Magic Kingdom for a few of these recycled pals. There is a final cottage scene at the very end of the attraction after you've whipped around the mines, and you can see Snow White and a handful of the dwarves dancing and singing inside the cottage. Specifically, 5 of these characters, Doc, Happy, Sleepy, Grumpy, and Bashful, are actually the animatronics that used to be in Snow White's Scary Adventures, which were previously in Fantasyland and closed to make way for Mine Train. It's a really fun, unique way that Disney actually uses old things that we really, really love to bring new things to life while saving some cash and also being a really fun nod to history that we aren't ready to let go of. Epcot also participates in this kind of reduce, reuse, recycle mentality, specifically at the Three Caballeros. This one is a little bit lesser known, I would argue. I think the first two you might have heard whispers of, but the Three Caballeros is actually a great example of this. Jose, Donald, and Panchito are actually all reused from a previous attraction in Tokyo Disneyland. These figures are actually super old. Specifically, they are from Mickey Mouse Revue all the way back in 1971. So these famous animatronics, those three in the Three Caballeros, the boat tour, Mexico Pavilion, you've heard of them, they were actually initially created for something called the Mickey Mouse Revue in 1971 when Magic Kingdom initially opened. That's how old those little three guys are. They actually performed later at the same attraction, the Mickey Mouse Revue, in Tokyo Disneyland. So they've gone all around the world before planting back in Epcot, which is a park that's themed to going all around the world. All of that to be said, Disney is really clever at how they reduce, reuse, and recycle with these specific animatronics. And it's kind of fun to know that you can look at those three in particular in Epcot and know that Donald, Jose, and Panchito are literally older than the park that they're in.
There are, of course, a lot of places you can explore in Disney World, but there are also a select few that you'll never get the chance to visit, at least not anymore. One of the most mysterious of those is Discovery Island. Discovery Island is located right in the middle of Bay Lake. If you've ever taken a boat from Wilderness Lodge to Magic Kingdom, you've probably passed it without even realizing it. Back in its heyday, Discovery Island was a full-on wildlife attraction. Guests could wander through lush botanical trails, spot animals like eagles, alligators, swans, and deer, and even step inside a massive walk-through aviary. There were bird shows, demonstrations, and even plenty of up-close encounters with nature. But when Disney's Animal Kingdom opened in 1998, interest in Discovery Island plummeted. Attendance dropped so low that Disney decided to close the island for good in 1999. The animals were safely relocated to Animal Kingdom and other facilities. But here's the strange part. The buildings and structures on Discovery Island were just left there, abandoned. To this day, if you ride past on a boat, you can still spot those empty, decaying remains hidden among the overgrowth, a reminder of one of Disney's most unusual and forgotten attractions.
If you're on the hunt for Disney World secrets, you need to remember to look down. Seriously, I'm not even joking. There are so many little details around Disney World, and a lot of them are actually buried in the floor. One of them is actually the ring over at the Haunted Mansion in Magic Kingdom. You can find the bride, the famous serial killer bride, Constance's ring, buried in the concrete outside of the attraction. You can also find a lot of like sparkling tiles and gems over in Adventureland near Aladdin's magic carpets, just to kind of like bring in the tides of everything. Over in Storybook Circus, you can actually find peanuts embedded in the ground as you look around. Obviously, Dumbo has been looking around, looking for a snack, and they're all over the ground. Near the tangled bathrooms in Magic Kingdom, you can find little hoof prints from Maximus as he's been kind of hanging out, searching for anybody doing anything bad. He is head of police, the horse force, if you will. So he's been checking things out, and you can find his little hoof prints. Over in Hollywood Studios, you can actually find massive footprints. They're Andy's as he walks through the backyard. It makes you feel more like a toy. And then around Echo Lake, you can actually find dinosaur little are they called paws? Dinosaur footprints as Gertie has kind of made her way through the park to land where she is over in Echo Lake. Galaxy's Edge, you can even find little droid footprints that go all throughout the land. And I just think it's a fun, small detail when you look down that just makes the parks feel so much more immersive and personal and cool. There's even Na'vi footprints all over Animal Kingdom. There's so many little secrets that you might not even notice because you're too busy looking at everything else. Look down, the details are literally from your head to your toes all over the parks, and so many little things that you're gonna catch that 99% of Disney World guests aren't gonna catch.
Now, of course, Disney takes safety very seriously, even in ways that most guests don't even notice. One fascinating example, hidden lightning rods. Many of the tallest structures in Magic Kingdom, including Cinderella's castle, but you would never know they're there because they are hidden from view. Tower of Terror has rods built into the Gothic spires that blend in with the architecture, and Space Mountain has rods cleverly integrated into the cone's panels. Also, fun fact, when you first walk into Hollywood Studios and you see Crossroads of the World and Mickey's way up top up there, Mickey's also a lightning rod. He is also 5'2", which is as tall as me.
Another fun secret that just really makes me feel good is that when you make a wish, you're actually granting a wish. So maybe you've walked through Magic Kingdom or anywhere in Disney World and you've seen a fountain, you've seen Cinderella's wishing well, or even just walking through It's a Small World and you've tossed a coin in and you've made your wish. A lot of kids do it, a lot of adults do it. It's just a fun little thing that, you make a wish, toss your coin in and you make a wish. Here's the secret though. Every time you toss in that coin, penny, dime, or whatever, you actually are helping make other people's wishes come true. So what does that mean? How does that work? Well, every so often, Disney actually drains the water out of It's a Small World, the fountains, all these little bodies of water, and they collect all of that money and they donate it to different people throughout Central Florida. According to the Orlando Centennial, Disney actually at one point donated $20,000 in coins to the Coalition of Homeless in Central Florida. That's just one example though. Specifically, Disney has been doing this since the beginning of Disney, to be honest. They have donated hundreds of thousands of dollars of little coins and things that you just kind of keep tossing and you don't even notice, but it makes a huge difference for other people once Disney adds all of that collection together. So next time you make a wish, just remember you might be helping someone else's wish come true. It makes it even more fun, even more special, and maybe both wishes will come true.
Most of the tallest structures in Disney World, including Cinderella's Castle, Expedition Everest, and Tower of Terror, stop at 199 feet tall. Why? Because Florida building codes require anything 200 feet or taller to display aviation lights. By keeping the height just under 200 feet, Disney avoids extra regulations that could ruin the magic. I mean, come on, we don't want to see a blinking red light on top of Cinderella's castle. That would just take away from the magic. So 199, the perfect number.
Have you ever been standing on Main Street and you're watching the fireworks happily ever after at the end of the night and you think, wow, I feel like this is all happening. Like I'm in the middle of these fireworks. Well, you're not. Most of the fireworks are not actually in Magic Kingdom, and a lot of people don't know that. It's one of those things where you're watching Cinderella Castle and you just feel like they're mere feet from you. They're shining down on you, the music's playing, you're overwhelmed, you might be crying like I am. These fireworks, most of them are not even in the Magic Kingdom. The timing, the angles, the music transitions, everything about these fireworks really make you feel like they're happening just feet away. They're being launched just right behind the castle, but almost none of them are. The big secret is that they are all launched from outside the park. There are a handful of smaller pyrotechnics, like little things that may be launched from the castle, but almost everything else is outside of Magic Kingdom. Disney actually has a full-on designated fireworks launch location specifically for Magic Kingdom. It's known as the Magic Kingdom Firework Bunker, which is really neat. And we actually know the exact address outside of the park. It's 1440 Floridian Way, and it's kind of tucked in behind Fantasyland, which makes a lot of sense after you kind of see the location of where they're going off. From that location, Disney can actually launch these massive fireworks a lot more safely because of the larger shells. It creates those massive bursts that we all love, and it just ensures that if there's any major fallout, it's not happening over the guests, or any issues can kind of be taken care of outside of the park. They time it all perfectly. They practice these fireworks constantly to make sure the timing and everything is absolutely correct, even though they are happening miles away. But it just makes it feel like everything is so perfect and massive and right in front of your face, and almost none of it is even that close to you. Once you start to see the fireworks a little bit further away, so if you're watching them at California Grill, at the Contemporary, or even if you're in an Uber leaving, which I have done, you can kind of see how far removed these massive fireworks are from the actual castle, and it just means that you can have a really cool view from several places away, but they're not actually as close as you might think.
Now, Pop Century Resort was supposed to be twice as big. Disney actually started building an entire second half of the resort called the Legendary Years. But after 9/11, tourism slowed down, construction was abandoned. Years later, it was reimagined and reopened as Disney's Art of Animation Resort.
We can't leave Epcot out of all this secret fun, so let's talk about Epcot for a while.
Now, Magic Kingdom isn't the only Disney World park to have the utilidors, because Epcot has them too. However, they are much less extensive and only go under what was formerly known as Future World, now World Celebration. Reportedly, the tunnel is 700 feet and U-shaped, and functions similar to the Magic Kingdom utilidors, mainly being used for storage and transportation of items.
When it's raining in Epcot, do you know where I like to stand? Right underneath the Spaceship Earth, which for a lot of people would be like, why are you doing that? Because the rain's just gonna run off and then hit you. No, it isn't. It isn't, because there's actually a special gutter system on Spaceship Earth. If you've ever been there when it's raining, you might be like, how does this, like, why am I so dry? This doesn't make a lot of sense. That is because Spaceship Earth was actually designed with a unique gutter system that kind of helps prevent the water from rolling down this way. Instead, it goes this way. There's something about the gaps in the panels on the attraction that actually makes the water run a certain way, and then it's channeled all the way back into the World Showcase Lagoon rather than soaking everyone and their mother that is standing below Spaceship Earth.
Have you ever noticed the tiny village tucked away in the Germany pavilion? It looks like a little model town straight out of a storybook, complete with miniature buildings, rivers, and even a working train. This is what Disney calls the Citizens of Germany, a hidden miniature village designed to give guests the feeling of walking through a quaint German town. If you look closely, you'll even see tiny figurines living in the buildings, going about their day. It's one of those magical details most guests completely miss, but it's a perfect example of Disney's obsession with making every corner of their parks feel alive, even at a tiny miniature scale. And whatever's going on at Epcot at the time, the tiny German town is also experiencing it as well. So if there's a festival going on, their little banners are going to be the Epcot Festival banners. It's really cute, it's very fun. Our friends over at DFB like to make up stories about what's going on in Tiny Town, so if you want to keep up with Tiny Town, go check them out.
Did you know that Hollywood Studios was actually not intended to be Hollywood Studios at first? There was a brief time where Hollywood Studios was actually supposed to be an Epcot pavilion. Fun fact, it wasn't initially designed to be its own park like the way we know it is today. Back when Epcot was designed, the idea was to make a pavilion inside Epcot itself, specifically in Future World. The concept was really simple. It was going to be a working studio area kind of combined with the theme park experience where guests could go and see movies and TV shows being made via Disney. When Michael Eisner, Disney CEO at the time, saw the plans, he insisted that it needed to be its own park. It couldn't just be part of a pavilion, so that way Disney could compete with Universal Studios, which was being built at the time in Orlando. So I think that that is crazy because now one of my favorite parks almost didn't exist at all. Thank you, Michael Eisner. You were a controversial Disney figure, but I love you. In hindsight, I love what you did. So thanks for Hollywood Studios.
Okay, this one's very fun. While the Japan Pavilion in Epcot is absolutely stunning with its architecture, gardens, and good food, it's missing something big, an attraction. But that wasn't always the plan. In fact, the pavilion was originally supposed to have not one, but two major attractions. The first was planned as a roller coaster inspired by Disneyland's Matterhorn, but themed instead to the iconic Mount Fuji. It even had a perfect sponsor lined up, Fujifilm. But there was a big problem. At the time, Kodak was already a major Disney sponsor, and they weren't about to let their biggest competitor set up shop in the parks. After some pushback from Kodak executives, Disney pulled the plug, and the Mount Fuji coaster idea was scrapped. The second attraction actually came much closer to reality. This was a rotating theater show, very similar to the Carousel of Progress, called Meet the World. It was designed to tell the story of Japan's history through its interactions with other nations and was developed for both Epcot and Tokyo Disneyland at the same time. A massive show building was even constructed at the far end of the pavilion. But here's where things fell apart due to miscalculations, quote, in the building's design. The structure couldn't handle the immense weight of a rotating theater. The Epcot version was canceled before opening, though the attraction did live on for years in Tokyo Disneyland. Today, the empty show building is still in Epcot, quietly serving as storage and a backstage space.
Another really crazy secret is there is a sinkhole in the middle of Epcot. Do you know that? Have you ever been walking through Epcot and you're kind of near the Odyssey building And you've wondered, like, why is there so much open space here between the Odyssey building and World Discovery? And if you don't know, World Discovery is like Test Track, Guardians of the Galaxy, all that good jazz. There's a lot of open space there, and it might feel a little bit wonky, like why is all of this here? Well, it's because when they were developing and building Epcot, Disney Imagineers actually discovered a pretty big sinkhole in the middle of the park that they were building. They discovered that a big section of the land was not able to hold up heavy construction, therefore eventually it would turn into a sinkhole. Instead of abandoning it or finding a way to build around it, Disney actually just kind of came up with a clever solution where they built over it. They actually reinforced the ground by placing a giant steel plate over the sinkhole, essentially kind of capping it so that way it wasn't gonna keep going further and further into the ground. It's a creative solution to what could have been a huge problem. And personally, I love when they add bodies of water and other greenery throughout the parks because it just makes it feel a little bit more alive rather than a big concrete jungle. So in a way, it worked out all for the best.
Now, if you made it this far, you know what to do. Please put the secret code in the comments below.
And be sure to like and subscribe because we do a lot of fun theme park news, tips, tricks, and secrets almost every single day. Why do we do it?
Because we're serious about fun. Thanks for watching. See you next time.